Hi guys, fairly common occurrence for me. I've just got completely sidetracked from what I came up to my workshop to do. Somehow or other I've got sidetracked onto 9-volt batteries. Because I got a lot of dead ones, I suppose. Got a dear old battery tester here. If I just test them, well, that one's saying it's just about to drop off the good scale. That one's about the same. And that one's hardly registering at all. And what I like to do with these 9-volt batteries is strip them apart to get the connectors off the top. Because if you actually want the connectors to connect up to 9-volt batteries and you go and buy them somewhere, they're relatively expensive. Not really expensive, but if you can get them for free, why go and buy them? So there's an example. That's one I've done. I've even put a little on-off switch on it. So if I put that on there, yeah, it's pretty flat, isn't it? That's a 9-volt battery, and that's probably a 3-volt electric motor. The wires are a bit loose. Yeah. So it's only just about running it. That should be screaming with 9 volts going through it. In fact, I've got my meter there. Let's have a look, see what the meter says. Is that visible? 6.5 volts. So these batteries are pretty dead, so I'm going to strip them apart to take out the connectors. But the other thing that occurred to me is that's the inside of one type, which is made up of 6 individual 1.5 volt cells with some sort of sticky in there, and the other type is made up of 6 of these joined together. And I've taken one apart already, as you can see, and I was measuring the individual cells to see what they were giving me. So that one's given me about 0.8 of a volt, and I thought, rather than throw those away, even though they're rubbish, they could drive my dear old snowman friend again. So I'm going to put a couple of wires into there, and I'm going to leave him running on one of these expired cells. There's only 3 here because they're the 3 that were reasonably good. In fact, I think one of them may not be so good. Let's just test that again. Yeah, 0.8. 0.78. 0.2. Yeah, so out of the 6 cells, those were 2 good ones, or relatively good, and the rest were 0.2 or nothing. So I'll throw those away in the recycling system, but these 2 I'll keep, just to keep my little friend running in the background. While I'm talking about it, I might as well just strip these apart to show you. Some of them come apart quite easily. These ones that have got a metal container, you can just get your pliers under them, give them a bit of a gentle twist, and they come apart. Do be careful because they're still fairly sharp bits of metal there. But there you go. That's your connector. As I say, you could buy them, or you could just use these old ones. And what I'm thinking of doing here is testing the individual cells here and see if there's any good ones in there, and I might use them to run my little snowman friend as well. They're not up to anything much else, you really can't use them to power aeroplanes or anything like that, but 6 in 9 volts means that each one should be giving us 1.5 volts. So if there's any good ones, they might just be worth saving for the sake of it. These ones, they're actually quite stiff plastic bodies, but I have managed to lever them apart in the past. Yeah, with a bit of an effort. There we go. So they've got a couple of connectors in there, and if you're lucky, there we go. So that's the 6 1.5 volt batteries, and if I measure them individually, if I can get them apart, right, start at one end, .19. Remember, this should be 1.5 if they're any good. 1.2, 1.2, 1.2, that's getting quite regular, isn't it? 1.2, 1.2, well that one's fairly even, all 1.2s, but not quite enough in there to give us a decent 9 volts. 6 times 1.2, anybody? 7.2, isn't it? So that's why it's measuring a bit low. But as I say, I'll take those off so I've got another connector, and then decide what to do with them. Might use them to power it. That's another one of those ones. So, hope you might find that interesting. I'll just wire him up and let's have a look what we can do. Go. He's quite happy with 1.2 volts. In fact, he was quite happy with those ones, which were only 0.8. There we go. So I should be able to power him for years with those.